Matriarchs, the podcast where we have real, honest conversations to help teen girls and young women navigate life with confidence. I'm Mama T, and today we're tackling a topic that so many of us struggle with: body image issues, eating disorders, and the journey toward a healthier relationship with food. Today, we're exploring how food can be our medicine rather than our enemy. We live in a world that constantly tells us what we should look like, what we should eat, and how we should feel about our bodies. But today, we're flipping that script. We want to talk about food as fuel, as medicine, as something that helps us live, not something to fear or obsess over. If you've ever felt guilty about eating a certain food, stressed about your weight, or pressured to count every calorie, this episode is for you. We'll unpack how to build a healthy relationship with food and break free from the toxic messages around dieting.
Today, we have a very special guest, Erin Stricklin. Erin is a nutritional therapy practitioner and graduated with the Nutritional Therapy Association at the end of 2021. Since then, she's been helping women improve their relationship with food and body image by focusing on real nutrient-dense foods. She's passionate about helping women develop sustainable habits with food and spreading the message that healthy looks different on every beautiful human body. We will link all of her socials with the podcast so that you can find her. Erin, we're so excited to have you.
Yeah, I know. I think every podcast starts with the guest being like, "I'm so excited to be here," but but I don't know what else to say besides that, because this is so important to talk about, and so I am truly pumped to be here.
Well, we're pumped that you're here.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that. Okay, so then let's just jump right in, if you guys are good with that. I guess I'll start with the first question for you, Erin. So can you tell our listeners what happens to the body and the brain when someone isn't eating enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to do that in high school, right? Because your friends are doing it. You're hearing the people that you look up to struggle with it. One of my best friends in high school, I remember she broke her leg from a sporting event, and she was like so worried about gaining weight. And so she would only eat this soup every day that had 60 calories. I just remember that so vividly. And that really stuck with me. And I just was like, how do you have energy for anything anymore? So the thing is, if you're in the science class right now, you're probably learning about what the body does. And I had kind of forgotten until I went back to school for all of this. But whenever you think about all of the systems that have to function in our body for us every single day, every single system in your body is dependent upon a nutrient. And the only way you're going to get that is from food. And so I'm talking like every single part of you, like your brain, your muscles, your hormones, like all, like energy, everything. We need energy from our food. And that's how the body is going to be able to absorb all of those amazing nutrients. And if we don't get that, then our systems in the body are not going to work for us properly, and we're going to feel bad. So it's so important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I know. So I have one more at home. My girls, the rest of them are already out of the house. But my youngest, I'll pick her up from school, and she's like, "I'm so hungry. Like, I didn't eat today because, lunch was so awful." And I'm like, "Well, honey, then we need to start, taking lunch from home." And then she'll say, "But we never have time to go to our locker, and I don't want to carry my lunch all day." So it's like, I think sometimes girls and boys will do it intentionally, and sometimes it's not. But I explain that to her, and she's an athlete, and I'm like, "Honey, you've got to have this energy for practice tonight, for upcoming games." And so, it's super important for them to understand that.
Yeah, I remember for me, it was like 4 p.m. I would just be like ravenous, just what am I going to eat? And it's socially, it can be weird too, because I remember that lunch hour, sometimes it's too early in the day and you can't really control that. And so you don't really maybe have much of an appetite, but if that's your only opportunity, sometimes you kind of just have to make it work and have something ready to go whenever you get home. I think it's great you're having a conversation of like, let's find something that you can look forward to, and just, it's so hard at that age, but really focus on yourself, and we'll get into that more, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So our next question for you is, can you explain why nutrient-dense foods matter?
Yeah. Whenever I work with clients, one of the best things I think I learned in going to school for this is I used to only think about like calories. Like I shared the story about my friend, because growing up, it was always counting calories, and it was just like this obsession over it. And I would look at a plate of food, and that's the only thing I would be thinking is just like, how is this going to make me look, instead of how is this going to make me feel? And I think instead of labeling food as good or bad or healthy, unhealthy, it's like, let's just point out the facts of it. You're going to either have nutrient dense foods where it's like your body is going to be getting the nutrients that it needs for all of those systems we talked about. Like it's either going to be getting that from food, or you're going to have a nutrient lacking food. And that's okay. I think it's great to include that in your life, because that's, taste and enjoyment of food is I think one of the joys we have in this life. And so I think just remembering, like, I'm going to have times where there are nutrient dense foods, and then there's time for nutrient lacking foods. It's not good or bad. There's no moralness to it. It just is. And focus on how these foods are making you feel instead of counting. I mean, for me personally, like I really don't like to count anything. I don't like to count anything whenever it comes to food. I don't like to measure anything. I really like to just focus on like, how am I physically feeling whenever I eat this,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's a good segue into how can teens tell if they're eating enough to support their body's needs?
Yeah, I would say the energy is probably the easiest thing you can pick up on.
Yeah.
And, a lot, I don't know that this generation is dealing with this, but like I come from the generation where we completely cut out fat for a season.
Yeah.
And we were really worried about like low fat everything. But fat is a nutrient that your body needs for energy, especially it's actually your heart's preferred source of fuel is fat, because it helps sustain energy throughout the rest of the day. And so, if you're feeling like that slump in the afternoon, I'm always like, well, what did you have for breakfast? Did you have something that gave you good energy to sustain you for a long period of time? Another one, and I know this isn't, we're talking about food, but just like simple, we kind of overlook it, but hydration, one of the early signs of dehydration is anxiety. And feeling tired. And so, anxiety is so, a lot of us deal with it. And it can be, what if it's as simple as like, oh, maybe I need to hydrate a little bit more throughout the day. And bathroom breaks in school, is that still a stressor? Because my goodness.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't know what the rules are, but it's really frustrating. Yeah. So hydrating well at home, and I think that's a big one. I think maybe some teens are dehydrated throughout the day for fear of when can I go to the bathroom throughout the day.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, how do we solve that? I don't know. Like, gradually, instead of like chugging water throughout the day, if there's a way you can kind of like, no, they can't. Can they carry water bottles? Man, I'm so far removed. Obviously, I don't have children. I don't know what's going on in school right now.
Our school allows most kids have their water bottle, which is great.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I would say like the best thing you can do in hydration is like slowly sip throughout the day instead of just like your body's going to absorb it like you're set on a cellular level better if it's like slow throughout the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But energy is the biggest one, is like focusing on what is my energy like? And then it's like, what did I eat today? Or maybe there's a day that you're like, wow, I packed this for lunch and I felt really good the rest of the day. Take note of that. Tell your mom, be like, wow, whatever was that, that really checked all the boxes for me. That's, go for what's working, instead of what's not. I like that.
Yeah. Allie's been getting a lot of headaches lately. I know she's deficient in magnesium, so we're working on that. But last night she had a headache and she was just kind of feeling crummy, and she was on her way to church. So she's like, Mom, can you make me a fruit plate? And sometimes I still do stuff like that for her. So I did. And she ate it. And she was like, I cannot believe how much better I feel. She's like, how can fruit make me feel so good? And she refuses to take anything for her headaches. Like she just So, I mean, and we had an opportunity to talk about it. Like, yes, what you feed your body will affect how you feel. And she was just like, she was shocked about how much better she felt after she ate a plate of fruit,
And my brain's like, oh, so was it blood sugar or hydration?
Yeah.
Like what's going on there? Yeah. Maybe she just needed a little bit of a boost.
Okay. So we have lots of family and friends and Trish's kids and that are in sports and extracurriculars. Can you tell us how not eating can affect those sports and extracurriculars?
Yeah, I will say I was not in sports as a kid, but I was an orchestra kid. So I'm my husband and I are actually in a band. So that's
amazing.
That's my life now. But we work out in the yard every day doing weights and stuff. And I'll tell you what, if you skip breakfast and you try to work out right after, well, for some people, I don't know. I think as we age too, women have different needs with like timing of eating and movement, etc. But whenever you're a teen and sports and different extra things, like just like we said, like you're going to need it to have energy, or you're going to, have passing out is very likely from not having the fuel that you need, because your body truly needs that to get going, and to sustain your activity level, especially if you're in sports, because your body is expending so much. Your body is doing even something at rest. Like it requires energy just to be alive. And if you're pumping out extra effort with these extracurriculars, I mean, listen, when I was shredding an orchestra, I wasn't doing the same as on the field somewhere, but I still needed energy for that,
Yeah.
And it's just, that's so important to keep your fuel sources just ready to go.
I coached 8th grade girls basketball this year, and I would regularly have girls who would almost pass out, and I would have to go grab them a snack, and then I found out they hadn't eaten all day, and I'd have girls tell me they just didn't feel good, and I would say, well, have you eaten today? Did you have lunch? And then, well, no, or well, I had a bag of chips, and I'm like, I'm sure part of your problem is you have to keep your energy up. And then Allie and I were talking about athletes, especially, I mean, like you said, it depends on what activity you're doing, but you can burn a lot of calories, so you have to increase your intake to accommodate that. And it just amazed me. And you don't think about it, right? And as a teenager, not very often anyway, how much that impacts you and your performance, whether it's in the classroom or in orchestra or on the field. I mean, not having enough calories is definitely going to affect you big time.
Yeah.
And even orchestra is a lot of upper body work, right? I mean,
thank you, Megan.
Your arms.
Exactly. There's a lot going on up here. Yeah. I also, blood sugar is kind of a complicated subject, but I just as like a visual, if this is helpful at all, like every time you eat, your blood, like your body is going to receive that, and then your blood sugar will elevate, right? And so it's almost like a roller coaster throughout the day, and your body is always trying to maintain a balance with the level of blood sugar that we have in our body for energy. It's doing this all throughout the night, all throughout the day, and it directly impacts how we feel energetically. And if you don't eat, your blood sugar will drop significantly low. That roller coaster will dip way down, and your body's response to that is to get you out of that as fast as possible, because that is an emergency to your brain, to your body, and your body will prioritize that over any athletic performance you can think of, any physical movement. Your body is like, this is danger. My blood sugar has dropped drastically and I have to get this up. I'm going to do whatever it takes to pump this out. And think about it. If you're not getting blood sugar elevated from food, your body is having to do it in an emergency way. And so it is pulling from all the sources that it needs. Like your body's actually able to steal nutrients from different systems of the body in times of emergency when needed. And so, think about what that does if you do that all the time, then certain systems of your body in the long run will really struggle because they've been stolen from, if that makes any sense. So that drop, we want to avoid that at all costs, especially if we're doing a lot of physical movement, because your body is not going to worry about, I don't even know how to talk sports. Your body's not going to know and prioritize your performance going well. Your body is going to prioritize getting your blood sugar up because it is receiving that as an emergency. So, so take care of that. Yeah.
Okay, Erin. So what are some common nutrition myths that contribute to body image struggles?
I think the biggest one that my generation, that a lot of generations have been sold, and it's still happening now, and I don't think it's going away, so be leery of it, is that we've kind of been taught to believe that healthy and beautiful looks one way. And there's a reason for that, right? Because the beauty industry will try, if you believe that if you have this visual of what beautiful is supposed to be and what healthy is meant to look like, but you don't match up to that, then a lot of companies can try to sell you products that contribute to that. And so then you're just in this never-ending cycle of trying to achieve this standard that is just so far removed from what we need to be focusing on. And it's one of the reasons why I got into this is definitely, if I look back at my younger self, and then I would never ask her to change her body. Yeah. I've always, in a sense, been shaped the same way, and on my worst days, I get really frustrated with that. And I want to look like what I'm being told is like the correct way to look at what healthy actually looks like, et cetera. But I think that I think we need to speak more on how healthy looks different on everybody. I think like every human body is going to look different whenever you are healthy. And it's just so important to really remind yourself of that, or you're going to just constantly be chasing after something that is just not for you. You're always going to be in the chase.
Yeah, you nailed it. Cause I don't think it's going away, unfortunately. I mean, I've heard so many different generations talk about it. Sorry, Meg, what'd you say?
Yeah, no, you're fine. I was just going to say, and if we all did look the same, can you imagine how boring our world would be if we all tried to be had that specific body or, hair color or anything? It would our world would be.
You know what I find the most beautiful is, oh, sorry, Megan, I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine. I just said we need to embrace our uniqueness.
Yeah, I agree. I think the most beautiful people are confident. Because I've seen women that by the world standards are like the bombshells, but you can tell they're so insecure and they don't have confidence, and so it takes away from that, but when you see someone who is very like happy with themselves and comfortable in their own skin and they're confident no matter what size or how they look, they're just like stunning to me. I love that. Like when people carry themselves with confidence, and you can just tell they love themselves, right? Meaning not in an arrogant way, but just like, I'm very comfortable with who I am, Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the most beautiful.
Me too. And I think at one point whenever I was younger, I think I kind of falsely believed that I was like, oh, if you can't be confident because that is coming across as like arrogant. I confused the two because they look the same to me in other women and other girls. I was like, because I think girls we're kind of made to be against each other and like in this competitive drive of like, I've got to look better than you, or the guy won't like me, or like if a guy chooses you over someone else, then you think that you're not good enough, or et cetera. But it's like, oh, it's not about that, and it's tough, but you've got to, but confidence is not arrogance. It is believing good about yourself and just having that self-esteem. I was not given many tools for that growing up. And so my husband reminds me all the time, it's not too late, and so it's something I'm still working on, of just like, how can I believe this? How can I make myself believe this more often? Because I know body image is something that I know is not just going to like just completely dissolve and be like, oh, you're never going to think about this again.
Right.
Because our full-time job, we're in a band together. And so when we tour, when we're on stage in front of people and I get tagged in a picture I don't like, I get tagged in a video I don't like, those are some of the hardest, those are hard days for me. And I have to really tap into like, let's come back to center here. Like, what do you believe to be true about yourself? How cool is it that other women that are younger than you are seeing that you don't have to be a certain size to be on this stage? You still deserve to be here. Yeah. And I really own that on my best days. But you've got to get the tools for the uniqueness. What you said, that I think uniqueness is your beauty 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
And just your confidence of being able to get up and perform in front of people. That's incredible, because not everyone can do that, And
I'm an introvert too, so I really have to balance my days. It's empowering to just kind of lean into it. I think it's why I ended up coming to nutrition as like my side thing, because I just always wanted to be moving this conversation in the right direction of just like, how can I help other women believe that they deserve to take up space?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So another question for you. We have some friends that I've just seen like through working with the schools, that parents had no idea their child had an eating disorder, and then parents had no idea. Can you give us some signs of like an unhealthy relationship with food, or signs of someone who may have an eating disorder?
Yeah, I really watch the behavior around food whenever it's presented to them. Have the conversation. It's tough, and it can be messy, I think there's this, I think as a teen, you kind of forget that, oh, maybe my mom struggled with this, or maybe my mom has a hard time with food. And if, we pick up so many cues at that age of how people are behaving around things, or like how we talk about food in maybe a negative way. And kids are watching that for sure. And so I would just start a dialogue of like, hey, I've struggled with this before. Can we talk about it? Like, how are you feeling? Like see what they're eating, if they're even eating throughout the day, and really take note if if there's rapid weight loss that's happening and it doesn't match up with what you think is happening. Really open the conversation. And if you are someone with an eating disorder, who is the person that you really trust and you can talk to? Start that conversation, because you absolutely deserve to heal that part of you. The pressure isn't going away, and so we've got to grab hold of it and figure out what we can do about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to add something also to that is, so I have a daughter, she's almost 20, and we were talking about this the other day. She said out of her really tight-knit group of friends through high school, several of them had eating disorders. And she told me, she said, Mom, we were just talking about this the other day. She said, Mom, you're like one of the only moms in my friend group that has never commented on my body or my appearance, and she said, it's really shocking the number of moms in my friend group who would comment on their daughter's weight, or like make some comment to them about their appearance and how that, and even though they might have been doing it in their mind in a positive way, their daughter took it very negative. And then several of them ended up with an eating disorder. And so my message to parents and moms, especially, because I think moms tend to have that relationship with their daughters more, but is don't comment. Don't make those comments. Unless you're just encouraging the heck out of your girls, which my girls tease me. They're like, Mom, even if you thought something, you wouldn't tell it, because I'm always just like encouraging them and telling them how great they look. And Grace is like, Mom, I could come out of my bedroom look like an ogre and you're going to tell me I look amazing, But I just want to encourage mothers, especially to not make those comments to your daughters, because that can make a lasting impact and can lead them to, an eating disorder. So.
And comments about your own body too, right? That's a really hard one. There's a long period of time where I didn't even shop with other women because I was so fatigued from them coming out of the dressing room and saying something about themselves. Because what does our brain do? Like, if you think that about you, what are you going to say about me? What are we doing? Stop that conversation about people's body. If I heard a thing, like, if the person can't change what you're about to say in like 30 seconds on their body, like if they have something in their, some food in their teeth, cool, you can get that out. Let's mention that.
Yeah, right.
But if it's nothing, if it's nothing of that nature that you can change within 30 seconds, we are not talking about this person's body. And like you said, even the positive ones, because what if their body changes? Because guess what? Your body, there's so much hype around how much your body changes at puberty. Guess what? It's going to keep changing in your 20s. Yeah. And then after that, your body is always evolving and it's always adapting to your life. Like, be thankful for what it's capable of doing. And I remember someone referenced after high school, they said, I just heard in passing, they weren't even talking about me, but they said, oh, this person, have you seen them? She has mom arms now. And I said, what in the world what are they talking about? And so I went and looked at this person on Facebook and I was like, oh my goodness, her arms look exactly like mine. And so I didn't wear sleeveless tops for like 3 years. And, but that's what happens is because and it's like, what? We cannot be doing this. It's just not, it's not, I think that's such a good note. You're beautiful. You look so happy. I love your confidence today. Yep. That dress looks amazing on you, and like, I love those like what you're saying to your daughter, I think is so important, and how you're speaking to yourself in front of her.
That's a good point.
That is
how we speak to ourselves is a really good point. That's hard.
It's so true.
I think something helpful. So social media can be a positive tool. I think like following women that look different, like following women that encourage you at whatever size that you are, instead of just going for that, what we think is ideal. Like, find uniqueness in who you're following and who's speaking into this in a positive way. And I also like to find a picture of yourself that you're like, whoa, I look awesome. And put that as your phone background photo. And I want you to see that photo every day and write some mantras on your mirror and repeat until you actually believe it's true. And some days you're not going to believe it's true, but I had on my mirror for a long time, I'm thankful for my body and all it has been through. Or, just as simple, like, my body is beautiful and I am healthy and I am strong, all of those things. It sounds silly sometimes to write those things down, but our brain is really paying attention and absorbing those thoughts all the time. And so I think that's really important.
I love that so much.
I do too. Mm-hmm. Those positive affirmations are huge.
Yes. Makes a big difference. Okay. Well, Erin, we thank you so much for your time and joining us today and bringing your expertise and all your wonderful tips and words of encouragement. So we really appreciate you.
Yes, I really believe in what y'all are doing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Yes, you are a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate you. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Matriarchs podcast. We hope our conversation has inspired you to see food not as a set of numbers to be tracked, but as a powerful form of medicine that fuels both our bodies and our spirits. Remember, the journey to a healthy relationship with food is unique and personal. Celebrate each step forward, no matter how small, and be kind to yourself along the way. If you found value in today's discussion, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with anyone who might need a little encouragement on their own path to self-love and well-being. Until next time, take care of your body, cherish your journey, and remember that you are powerful just as you are.